Of Herb Stratford, the arts and culture guy. Now, we know the backstory of Herb was demanding that he get to come on the show Friday. I don't want to come on the show Thursday. I got nothing for you on Thursday. I want to come in on Friday. And the deal was, that Herb will give his review of Yoga Hosers to Kevin Smith himself, face to face.
I'm going to assume you never gave a review of a film to the director's face before, right?
It's a rare opportunity.
And have you ever gotten a review direct from a critic before?
Oh, he probably gets screamed at him.
Okay.
David, I remember sitting across from David Anson when he reviewed Jersey Girl for Newsweek. They wanted to do a piece where he's like, look, he don't like the movie. So rather than just write a review going, F this movie, David wants to sit down with Kevin and do like an interview that was essentially, why would you do this? So it gives you a chance, like it was sold to me as like, gives you a chance to actually defend the movie as opposed to him just reviewing it. So I was like, okay. And so I sat down with David Anson, and his biggest complaint, I mean, he had a lot of complaints about Jersey Girl, but his thing where he's like, look, this movie breaks with reality. He's going, in as much as Ben Affleck's character, his wife, played by Jennifer Lopez, she dies. He doesn't have sex for 7 years. He goes, I refuse to believe that. That's just unbelievable. And I was like, really? I was like, David, have you ever been in love with somebody? Ever been married? Like, it's possible. I mean, it hasn't happened to me because I haven't lost somebody, but I've dig my wife enough where if, like, she died, I don't know if I can immediately jump in the sack with anybody and stuff. So I got to talk about it with them and stuff, but it wasn't me versus you or something like that. But I have sat down. I've had many people tell me to my face how terrible at my
have they ever led to physical altercations?
Oh,
Never.
thanks.
Today could be the first time then.
Never. I'm so not. I have no testosterone in my body. I can't do a pull-up to save my life. So I'm not aggro. If I'm in a car and you're in front of me on the road, I could be that guy.
Herb, what do you drive?
But I'm mature enough to understand that, like, some stuff you do ain't going to connect. And you're a child if you're like, well, that bugs me. I at one point in my career, I went ballistic. Like, I think it was around Cop Out going, like, I refuse to be reviewed by somebody that doesn't pay to see the movie. Like, that's ridiculous to me. You get to see the movie for free, and then you could say whatever you want about it? Yeah. How about you pay to see it, just like everybody else?
Herb, where's your ticket stub?
Herb has paid for enough movies in his life.
I see it at Sundance, so it's a
and
little
also,
different.
Herb paid the true price. He watched Yoga Hosers. But
Well, let's do this.
Stop softening the blow.
But that all being said, you have to, if you're mature enough to be like, I'm going to make pretend for a living. This is a child's job that I try to maintain right up into adulthood. Then you have to at least be mature enough. This is the only time you have to be an adult in this job, is when faced with somebody going like, I don't like what you just did. And it doesn't necessarily mean I don't like what you do, period. And I've met those cats who are like, nothing you do will ever, trip my fancy or whatever. That's fine. You got to be able to stand in the face of that. Some people enjoy that. Some people love being provocative and like, I love when people hate me. I'll admit I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I would much prefer everyone loves what I do. And on some level when they don't, I'll be honest with you again.
It hurts.
It hurts. Yeah. Because I don't make movies that's like, hey, give me that script. Let me just execute. Look, somebody says something to me about Flash I directed where they're like, I didn't like that story. I'm like, well, I didn't write that script. I just tried to elevate the script, tried to shoot the best version of it as possible. But when you talk about the movies that I've written, they're personal. They come out of, like, a lot of them come out right out of real life. Yoga Hosers, not so much. But, like, so when people would talk about, like, Chasing Amy or something, I'm like, you're not talking about the movie. You're talking about me and my friends. And now you're saying you doubt our way of existence and stuff. So it took me time to compartmentalize all that stuff and be like, be a grown-up enough that, like, don't take it like a child. Like, you know what? Honestly, this is going to sound weird, but I've hopefully matured more in the last 10 years. But I know for a fact in the last year and a half, I've become far more mature about people saying things. And that has everything to do with our president.
And this you didn't want to look like you were, in the same category as him as far as his
He
outbursts.
appears, and I don't know if I've never met him, but he appears incredibly thin-skinned, as we just saw with this story, the Mika Brzezinski story.
Friends, yeah.
And in watching that repeatedly, over and over, in a high-profile situation over the course of the last 2 years, I have changed my behavior. And I'm not slamming the president here, but I'm saying, like, I've felt that way.
Right.
It sounds weird to say, but I can identify with Donald Trump on the level of when somebody says something about you, it hurts, and sometimes you just want to swing back twice as hard. But watching somebody do it so egregiously and so questionably and so insultingly and so, some cases, what seems like misogynistically, has honestly made me a better person, where I'm like, well, if I feel something, if there's a knee-jerk reaction that I got to somebody saying, and I get it a lot online. Now people get to go after me after the kid. They're like, oh, F your kid or whatever. I've had to like Zen Obi-Wan Kenobi train myself to just be like, you know what? They're totally entitled to that opinion, and I don't share that opinion. And let them have their moment because they bought a ticket. Somewhere in their lives, they believed in you enough to invest in you in some way. And in this journey, this recent chapter, you've let them down. Right. So face that. Like, maybe you'll get them back. And now I'm in a place where I'm just like, oh, man, I'm bummed that you didn't like it. I get it. I hope we get you on the next one.
Would you say that Trump made Kevin Smith great again?
I'm not going to say that because I'll get quoted, but I'll take that. That's a fantastic quote from you.
Let's pull the Band-Aid real quick. 60 seconds on the clock. Give the review real quick.
Did you see how artfully I wasted all of our time?
Yes, you procrastinated.
That was for you. That was for you.
Yeah. No, I would. All right. So here's the deal. I see stuff at Sundance. I'm on a press pass, so I get the schedule ahead of time. I map
at
out
Sundance.
Everything.
You saw it?
At Sundance, yeah.
Okay.
So I map everything out, and I got to tell you, I'm a fan. Okay, ever since Clerks. So I'm right there. I'm right at the front of the press line.
45
the press
seconds.
tent is crazy, and I'm like, I'm in. I'm invested. I want to check this out. I'm like, and I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I'm hit or miss. I'm like, this is better than that. Whatever.
This doesn't sound like a review, Herb.
And so I go in, and the premise that you've got is a little bit odd, and I'm
30
like, okay,
seconds.
I'm interested in it, but it just didn't connect for me.
Totally.
And I think you lost me when we went underground and it just kind of got a little bit goofy.
That's where the movie takes off for me, sadly. I like the rest of it.
15 seconds.
And I love the interplay between the girls. I thought they were great.
Thank
I
you
wanted
for
to see
that.
more of that. You know what I mean? And less of the
If I was
the
a
Nazi
better, smarter
wieners.
filmmaker, I would have just made a movie about kids in high school. But I'm in this point in my career where I'm like, well, anybody can do that. Make the Kevin Smith version of that, the one that nobody's going to make.
Yeah.
And it means sometimes people will be like, dude, I don't like that. But for me, it means that like I'm being true to myself. And it's like, if I'm willing to take the hit, like I knew that going in. I don't make a movie like Yoga Hosers going, boy, everyone's going to love it. Like, I knew going in, the moment I saw people reacting to like, ew, he's casting his daughter and Johnny Depp's working with his daughter, and there seemed to be a general distaste for that in some corners of the press. But knowing that, you still make the choice because I'm like, okay, I can either not make it, and some people could be like, oh, you can make a better movie, but that's subjective. So I could either not make a movie at all, or I can make the movie. And I'm like, the downside is some people might be like, that movie sucks. And in this case, that was the majority. The upside is, from now until the end of time, I got a movie I made with my kid.
I know.
Yeah.
And I love
You're
that
such
movie.
a mangina,
I got to
though.
see it.
Yeah, that was such a pussy review. That was not anywhere
They
close.
wanted blood, dude.
Yeah, like that you had an opportunity just to be like,
Now,
here's
you see, here's the
I
thing.
like this.
He's too much of a gentleman.
Yes.
He's a professional.
Well, he's a fan
Thank you.
first, and I understand
Absolutely.
that. I understand it. It's
I'll give
okay
him
not
that.
to like a movie.
I'll respect that
It's
review.
okay.
That was good.
You're right.
I just, the thing is, it didn't sour me on you. Maybe because I'm a fan.
Your
anyway.
60 seconds is up, Stratford.
But I'm just like, all right, this one didn't connect. Maybe the next
The
one
more
will,
you make
right?
it,
Totally.
you know,
I'm telling you, I understand.
Shmonty in the morning. Rock 102.1 KFMA.